I've spent 30 years in professional kitchens. I've plated dishes for presidents, watched critics weep over a single bite of braised short rib, trained chefs who now run Michelin-starred restaurants across 3 continents. I've worked 18-hour days, burned my hands more times than I can count, and sacrificed more family dinners than I care to admit. But the person who finally broke me wasn't an impossible guest or a vindictive food critic. It was my own daughter, in my own kitchen. Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, hit the hype button, and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? The notification pinged on my phone while I was kneading bread dough. Friday morning, 9:30, the light coming through my apartment windows in that perfect golden slant that makes even cheap linoleum look warm. I wiped flour from my hands and checked the screen. Tessa's latest video, Family Feast with my legendary chef dad, Secrets from a Master's Kitchen, 12,000 views already. The thumbnail showed her laughing in an apron, my old chef's knife in her hand like a prop sword. In the background, blurred but recognizable, I stood at a stove looking tired. I shouldn't have watched it. Marta told me to stop checking Tessa's channel. It only made me angry. But I pressed play anyway. So many of you have asked where I learned to cook, Tessa said to the camera, her smile practiced and bright. The truth is, I grew up watching a legend at work. My father, Lionel Carver, was the head chef at Mercer's for over 20 years. This brown butter technique, he taught me this when I was 7. Except I hadn't taught her that. She'd learned it from YouTube last year, and I'd had to correct her grip when she nearly burned herself. The video cut to me at her loft kitchen, trimming fat from a roast. The edit made it look like I was her kitchen assistant. Every clever technique, every small trick. She framed them as her innovations, her instincts. I was scenery. My blog, Carver's Table, has maybe 3,000 regular readers. Food industry people, serious home cooks, a few restaurant critics who remember when my name meant something. Tessa has 200,000 subscribers who think she's culinary royalty because she says so. I closed the video and went back to my bread. The dough had risen perfectly. I shaped it, scored the top, and slid it into my small oven. The smell that filled the apartment, yeast and wheat, and that indefinable scent of transformation was the only honest thing I'd encountered all morning. My phone buzzed again. Email from Tessa. Dad, we need to talk about some exciting contracts. This could be big for all of us. Can you and Marta come by tomorrow afternoon? Say 2 p.m.? Xax. I showed Marta the message when she got back from the bakery downstairs with coffee. It's the contract, she said immediately. She'd managed high-end restaurants for 15 years before we met. She could smell a bad deal 3 blocks away. They're going to push harder this time. What do you think they want? Everything, she said. Your recipes, your name, your story. They want to own you, Lionel. I thought about that while we ate warm bread with butter and jam. Outside, the city was doing its Friday morning thing. Traffic, sirens, people rushing to jobs they probably hated. I'd retired from the full-time restaurant world 3 years ago. I taught occasional master classes, ran my small blog, lived simply. I'd thought I'd earned some peace. Let's go, I said. Let's hear what they have to say. Marta's eyes narrowed. You're not actually considering signing anything? No, I said, but I want to see exactly what they think they can take from me. Tessa's loft was in the converted factory district, all exposed brick and massive windows. She'd turned half of it into a professional filming kitchen. Commercial range, matching copper pots hanging just so, perfect lighting rigs, everything chosen to look authentic on camera. Graham answered the door. My son-in-law wore a blazer over a t-shirt that studied casualness that screams, I'm important but approachable. He worked for Fresh Direct Local, some food delivery startup trying to rebrand dark kitchens as ethical and community-focused. Lionel, Marta, come in. His handshake was too firm, too long. Can I get you coffee? We've got this amazing Ethiopian single origin. We're fine, Marta said. Tessa emerged from behind a camera setup, looking photo shoot ready, even though it was Saturday afternoon. She hugged me, and I felt the performance of it. The camera on the tripod had a blinking red light. You're recording? I asked. Oh, just B-roll for content, she said breezily. I'm always capturing moments. You don't mind, do you? I minded, but I said nothing. We sat at her marble island. Graham slid a leather folder across to me. So, we've been working with some incredible partners, he began. Tessa's brand has grown so much faster than we projected. We've got the cooking show pilot with Clara Wynn's production company, 3 major sponsorships in negotiation, and a meal kit partnership that's potentially huge. That's wonderful, I said, not touching the folder. The thing is, Tessa said, leaning forward with that earnest expression she uses on camera, all of these partners are excited about the Carver legacy. They want to build on the authenticity, the history, and legally, we need to make sure everything is protected and organized. I opened the folder. The contract was titled Brand Consolidation and Legacy Protection Agreement. I've read thousands of contracts in my career. Vendor agreements, partnership deals, employment terms. I know what protective language looks like, and I know what a trap looks like. This was a trap, buried in the dense paragraphs. Tessa and Graham would have complete control over the Carver brand identity, including my name, image, biographical details, and any recipes I'd developed. I couldn't collaborate with other chefs, write for other publications, or even post on my own blog without their approval. In exchange, I'd receive a small percentage of undefined brand proceeds. This gives you control of my entire professional identity, I said quietly. It protects you, Graham said. Look, you're not going back to running a full kitchen, right? This way we handle all the business headaches. You can just enjoy life, cook when you feel like it, maybe consult on some of Tessa's projects. And if I want to write my own cookbook, teach my own classes? We'd work that out together, Tessa said, but her eyes had gone cold. As a family. I flipped through more pages. Clauses about dispute resolution, non-compete agreements, penalty fees for breach of contract. This wasn't partnership. This was ownership. I need time to think about this, I said. Dad. Tessa's voice sharpened. We have investors waiting. We have deals that need signatures. We need to know you're on board. I said I need time. Graham and Tessa exchanged a look I wasn't supposed to see. Graham's jaw tightened. Tessa's smile went stiff and artificial. Of course, Graham finally said. Take a week, but these opportunities won't wait forever. On the drive home, Marta was quiet until we hit the bridge. Then she said, They've already started. Look at the signature pages. I pulled them out at a red light. The authorization forms for several promotional materials. My signature was already there, dated 2 months ago, except I'd never signed them. They forged these, I said. Mild ones, Marta said. Testing whether you'd notice. Getting you used to seeing your name on their paperwork. I looked out at the city, at the buildings where I'd worked my way up from line cook to executive chef, where I'd built a reputation that took 3 decades and could apparently be stolen with a pen and some letterhead. What do you want to do? Marta asked. I want to cook, I said. I want to write. I want to own my own name. Then we need to be smart about this. They've planned this for months. If we react emotionally, they'll paint you as unstable and unreasonable. Graham's already good at that. She was right. I could already see how it would play. The difficult father, the ungrateful ex-chef who couldn't handle his daughter's success. Tessa would cry on camera about how hard she'd tried to include me. Graham would show emails where he'd been nothing but reasonable. So what do we do? I asked. Marta smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. We use what you're actually good at. Preparation, timing, and making sure everything is exactly right before you serve it. That Sunday, I wrote a blog post for Carver's Table. Not about Tessa, not directly. Just an essay about authenticity in cooking. Some kitchens prioritize appearance over substance, I wrote. The plating is gorgeous, the lighting is perfect for photos, but the food itself is an afterthought. Worse are the kitchens where the chef takes credit for techniques they didn't develop, stories they didn't live, struggles they didn't overcome. Food, like truth, has a way of revealing itself. You can fake the first bite, but by the third or fourth, people know what's real and what's been microwaved and arranged on a pretty plate. I hit publish Saturday night. By Sunday morning, I had 47 comments, most from other chefs and food writers. They knew what I was talking about. Several of them mentioned Tessa's channel specifically. One comment stood out. It was from Jennifer Alvarez, a food critic who'd reviewed Mercer's Back when I was running the kitchen. This post feels personal, Chef Carver. If there's a bigger story here, I'd love to hear it. My editor would too. I didn't respond. Not yet. Monday, I got a text from Miles. My son, 24, who'd somehow drifted from promising culinary student to full-time videographer for his sister. Dad, Tessa's upset about your blog post, says you're being passive-aggressive. Can you just call her? I didn't call her. Tuesday, I taught a private masterclass at the Institute of Culinary Arts. 20 advanced students, all of them paying serious money to learn from chefs who'd actually run kitchens. I was demonstrating how to properly break down a whole fish when Tessa and her crew arrived. No warning, no invitation. Just walked in with Miles carrying a camera, Graham glad handing the school's director, and Tessa positioning herself next to me at the prep station. Sorry we're late, she announced to the room. I wanted to bring my followers along for this. Dad doesn't mind, do you, Dad? The students looked uncomfortable. This wasn't what they'd paid for, a cooking class interrupted by someone's social media project. Tessa, I said quietly, this is a closed session. Oh, we'll stay out of the way. She was already talking to the camera. So amazing to watch my father work. This is where I learned everything. The precision, the respect for ingredients. The respect would include not interrupting someone else's class, I said, louder now. The room went still. Tessa's smile flickered. Graham stepped forward, all smooth mediation. Let's not make this awkward. We'll just grab some quick footage. No, I said. This is my class. If you want to film me teaching, you book a session and you pay like everyone else. Dad. Tessa's voice dropped into that dangerous register, the one that used to work when she was 16 and wanted to go to a party. You're being difficult. I'm being professional, something you might try. The students had their phones out now, not officially recording, but watching everything. I saw Miles lower his camera slightly, uncertainty flickering across his face. Tessa leaned close, voice low. You know what? Fine. We don't need this. We don't need you playing gatekeeper to knowledge you wouldn't have without the platform we're giving you. She turned to leave, then looked back. I'll be posting about this. How you exclude family from your precious little teaching moments. See how your 3,000 blog readers feel about that. After they left, I finished the class. The students were engaged, asking smart questions, treating the food with respect. Before we wrapped up, one of them, a young woman named Patricia who wanted to open her own place, said, Chef Carver, I just want you to know, a lot of us follow your daughter's channel, but we came here to learn from you. We know the difference. That night, Marta showed me footage she'd recorded on her phone. The school permitted recording for students' personal use. She'd captured the whole scene, including the moment after the cameras went off, when Tessa said to Graham, he's getting worse, more volatile. Make sure Clara knows he's unstable before we do the pilot. They're setting you up, Marta said. If you fight back publicly, they'll frame you as the problem. Then we don't fight publicly, I said. Not yet. We sat at our kitchen table with a notebook between us. We mapped it out like a menu, each course building toward something bigger. Legal protection first. Marta called an old colleague, a lawyer who specialized in hospitality and entertainment contracts. We learned that my name was still legally mine. Tessa couldn't actually trademark Carver without my explicit consent. The forged signatures were grounds for legal action if we wanted to pursue it. We filed paperwork formally, withdrawing permission for the use of my image or biographical details in any of Tessa's projects. Then the narrative. I wrote a longer blog post titled "When Family Becomes Brand." I didn't publish it yet, but I drafted every word, backed up every claim with screenshots, receipts, documented conversations. The story of a chef whose children wanted his legacy, but not his presence. And finally, timing. We needed one moment where all the masks would fall at once, where Tessa and Graham would show their real faces to the people who mattered. "What about a meal?" Marta said. "Isn't that what you do best? Cook for people?" I thought about that. About how meals force honesty. You can't rush a properly cooked meal. You can't fake it. You have to sit. You have to taste. You have to be present. "Breakfast," I said. "Intimate. Morning light. People are less defended at breakfast." "Who do we invite?" I smiled. "Everyone who matters. Let's see if Tessa can perform when her audience is right across the table." "Wednesday," I called Tessa, kept my voice calm, almost apologetic. "I've been thinking about what you said," I told her. "About being difficult. You're right that I've been resistant. I'd like to talk this through properly. Face to face." I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. She thought she'd won. "I'm glad you're finally being reasonable, Dad. Come over for breakfast tomorrow. Bring Graham. We'll sit down like adults and work this out." "Tomorrow? That's pretty short notice." "I'm an old chef," I said. "I wake up early anyway. I'll cook something proper. We'll talk." She agreed. Of course she agreed. In her mind, I was surrendering. After I hung up, Marta looked at me. "And the others?" I started making calls. To Miles, "I want to make peace with your sister. Come document it. Bring your good camera. I'll give you some content you can actually use." To Clara Wynn, the producer. "Clara, I know you're working with Tessa on the pilot. I'm doing a special feature on my blog tomorrow morning, 3 generations of Carver cooking. Would you and your associate producer like to see how we work together as a family? Might be good background for your show." To the brand representatives from 2 of Tessa's pending sponsorships. "I understand you're looking at partnerships with my daughter. I'd love to show you the authentic family cooking dynamic that she's built her brand around. Tomorrow morning, my place. Casual breakfast, no cameras except the blog setup. Just honest food and honest conversation." Everyone said yes. They all thought I was offering something different than what I actually planned to serve. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed thinking about the last time I'd felt this kind of anticipation. It was 20 years ago when a notoriously harsh critic from the Times came to Mercer's. I'd spent 3 days perfecting every element of the tasting menu. The night of her visit, I remember standing in the kitchen, watching the tickets come in, knowing that everything had to be perfect. She'd given us 4 stars, called my cooking technically flawless and emotionally resonant. Tomorrow would be different. Tomorrow I wasn't trying to impress anyone with my cooking. I was trying to reveal the truth. Marta found me in the kitchen at 3 a.m, writing notes. "Can't sleep? Want to make sure I don't forget anything." She read over my shoulder. "You're really doing this." "They took my daughter," I said. "I don't mean Graham took her. I mean the brand took her. The performance." She looks at me and she sees content, not a father. I can't get the old Tessa back, but I can make sure she doesn't take anyone else down with her. "And if she hates you for it?" I thought about that. About the little girl who used to stand on a stool next to me, carefully stirring soup, her tongue poking out in concentration. About the teenager who'd roll her eyes at my restaurant stories, but secretly loved them. About the woman she'd become, who smiled for cameras and calculated value in every relationship. She already hates me, I said. She just hasn't admitted it yet. Thursday morning, I woke at 5. Old habits. My first thought used to be the prep list for service. Now it was simpler. Bread, eggs, coffee, justice. I moved through my small kitchen the way I used to move through Mercer's during the rush. Efficient, focused, every motion purposeful. I made brioche dough and set it for a quick rise. I squeezed oranges for juice, the scent bright and clean. I whipped eggs for soufflés, prepped bacon, sliced tomatoes from the rooftop garden at the bakery downstairs. I ground coffee beans and set the French press ready. Marta joined me at 6. She didn't ask what I needed. She just started setting the table. Good plates, not fancy, just solid and honest. She positioned 2 laptops at the counter, one logged into my blog's back end, ready to start the live stream. The other loaded with video files, audio clips, screenshots, evidence. "You're sure about this?" she asked. "I'm sure." At 7:45, Miles arrived first. He looked tired, like he'd been up too late editing. He set up his camera on a tripod without much enthusiasm. "Tessa says you're finally ready to be reasonable," he said. "I'm ready to be clear," I said. "That's not always the same thing." "Dad, just don't make this harder than it has to be, okay? She's got a lot riding on these deals." "What about what I have riding on my own name?" He didn't answer, just checked his camera settings. At 8, Clara Wynne arrived with her associate producer, a sharp-eyed woman named Rachel. Clara was early 40s, professionally friendly, the kind of person who made you feel like your story mattered even while calculating exactly how to use it. "Lionel, thanks for inviting us. This is a great opportunity to see the family dynamic in a natural setting." "That's exactly what I wanted you to see," I said. Natural, unfiltered. The brand representatives came at 8:10, David from Home Chef Select and Tess from Sustainable Kitchen Co. Both in their 30s, both carrying that startup energy that's half enthusiasm and half desperation to find the next big thing. Everyone was seated by 8:15. Coffee poured, juice glasses full, the smell of fresh bread making the small apartment feel like somewhere special. And then, 8:20, Tessa and Graham walked in. Tessa was dressed casually but perfectly. Artfully distressed jeans, a flowing blouse, minimal makeup that probably took 40 minutes. Graham wore chinos and a button-down with the sleeves rolled up that studied "I'm approachable" look. They froze in the doorway. Tessa's eyes went from Clara to the brand reps to Miles with his camera to Marta sitting calmly with her coffee. The smile on her face, that bright, confident smile she always wore, flickered like a bulb about to burn out. "Dad," she said carefully, "I didn't realize we were having company." "It's just breakfast," I said. "You've built your whole brand on authentic family meals, haven't you? I thought everyone should see what that actually looks like." Graham's expression had gone very still. He recognized Clara, obviously knew the brand reps. He was calculating, trying to figure out the angle. I gestured to the empty chairs. "Sit down, Tessa. Everything is still fresh." She sat. Graham sat. Both of them were performing calm, but I could see Tessa's hand trembling slightly as she reached for her juice glass. I served the food. Fluffy soufflés that had risen perfectly, crispy bacon, the bread still warm. Everyone made appropriate, appreciative noises. The brand reps talked about how wonderful it was to see a real family breakfast. Clara asked Miles to get some shots of the table, and then I started talking. "I want to tell you all a story," I said, "about teaching someone to cook." "Tessa was 7 when she first stood at the stove with me," I began. The table was quiet except for the soft scrape of forks on plates. She wanted to make eggs. I showed her how to crack them one-handed, how to listen to the butter in the pan, how to know when to pull them off before they're overdone. Tessa was staring at her plate. Graham was looking at me with narrowed eyes, trying to figure out where this was going. I missed a lot of school events, I continued. Plays, games, parent conferences. That's the trade-off in restaurant work. You're there for other people's special moments, so you miss your own families. Tessa reminds me of this often. Dad, Tessa started. Let me finish, I said gently. I'm not defending it. It's true, I missed things. But what's interesting is what I didn't miss. I pulled out my phone, opened a photo album, passed it to Clara. These are from 5 years ago. Tessa was doing a food blog back then, much smaller scale. This photo is from a night I came home early, surprise, thinking I'd see my kids. Found Tessa staging nostalgic family dinner photos. The food was takeout. The story she posted later was about how I'd taught her to make that exact meal when she was young. Clara looked at the photos, then at Tessa. David and Tess leaned in to see. That's just content creation, Graham said quickly. It's called staging. Everyone does it. Everyone lies, you mean, I said. Let me show you another example. Marta slid the tablet across the table to Clara. She pressed play on a video from the master class. The footage showed Tessa interrupting my teaching, talking over me, claiming credit for techniques. Then, the crucial moment. When she thought the cameras were off, her voice sharp as she said to Graham, "He's getting worse, more volatile. Make sure Clara knows he's unstable." Clara's expression didn't change much, but I saw her glance at Rachel. They were both taking mental notes. That's taken out of context, Tessa said, but her voice had lost its confidence. Is it? I opened my laptop, turned it to face the table. Let's talk about context then. Let's talk about this brand consolidation contract you wanted me to sign. I walked them through it. The clauses that would give Tessa and Graham complete control over my name, my recipes, my entire professional identity. The non-compete agreements that would prevent me from teaching, writing, or cooking professionally without their permission. Standard protection language, Graham said, but he was sweating now. Standard theft, you mean? Marta said quietly. And then there are the signatures. She produced the authorization forms with my forged signature, showed the dates, explained how we'd verified with a handwriting expert that they were fraudulent. David and Tess were looking at each other now. These were the people Tessa needed to believe she was authentic, trustworthy, built on family values. And here was documentation that she'd been lying and forging documents. This is absurd, Tessa said, her voice rising. Dad, you're twisting everything. Yes, there have been some misunderstandings, some business decisions you didn't fully grasp. I understood perfectly, I said. You wanted to turn me into a prop. When I didn't cooperate, you planned to label me as unstable and difficult. You wanted my legacy without my presence. That's not... She looked around the table desperately. Clara, you know how family businesses work. Sometimes there are disagreements. I know how ethical partnerships work, Clara said carefully, and I know what my network's standards are for honesty and integrity. Tessa's face went pale. Graham put a hand on her arm, but she shook it off. I built this, she said, and now her voice was raw. You were gone all the time when I was growing up, at your precious restaurant, caring more about strangers than your own kids. Now I'm finally successful, finally making something of my own, and you can't stand it. You can't stand that I don't need you anymore. You're right, I said. You don't need me, but you wanted to own me anyway. There's a difference between not needing someone and trying to steal their identity. Miles had lowered his camera. For the first time all morning, he was looking at Tessa like he was actually seeing her. I checked my watch. 8:48. Close enough. There's one more thing I want to share, I said. I clicked a button on my laptop. The Carver's Table Live page went active. A little notification told me viewers were joining. 150, 200, 300 people. Food journalists, chefs, critics, serious home cooks who'd followed my blog for years. What are you doing? Tessa whispered. I'm telling my story, I said. The real one. The live stream counter climbed. 400 viewers, 500, 600. My audience wasn't massive, but it was specific. These were people who mattered in the food world, people who could recognize authenticity and spot a fraud. I spoke directly to the camera. Good morning. For those who don't know me, I'm Lionel Carver. I ran Mercer's here in the city for 23 years. Since retiring, I've written this blog about food, cooking, and the stories behind both. Today I want to talk about what happens when the people closest to you stop seeing you as a person and start seeing you as a brand opportunity. Tessa lunged for the laptop. Marta stepped in front of it, calm but immovable. You can't do this, Graham said. This is defamation. We'll sue. For what? Telling the truth? I kept my voice level. Everything I'm saying is documented, but please threaten legal action on a live stream. I'm sure Clara's network will love that. I played the audio clips. Tessa calling me a relic. Graham explaining to someone on the phone how they could leverage the old man's reputation without cutting him into real profits. Miles joking about me being past my prime. The chat on the live stream was exploding with comments. I could see them scrolling past. This is heartbreaking. I knew her channel seemed fake. Chef Carver deserves better. I'm not here to destroy anyone, I said to the camera. I'm here to tell the truth about my own kitchen, my own name, my own work. For months, my daughter and her husband have been building a brand based on my legacy while simultaneously trying to take ownership of that legacy. They forged documents, spread lies about my mental state, and tried to legally prevent me from teaching, cooking, or writing without their permission. I pulled out the folder of documents. I've officially withdrawn all permission for the use of my name, image, or biographical details in Tessa Carver Holt's projects. I've filed a formal complaint about the forged signatures, and I've informed all relevant partners and networks that any claims of my involvement or endorsement are false. David and Tess were already typing on their phones. I could see them pulling back from whatever deals they'd been negotiating. In their world, this kind of scandal meant toxicity, risk, uncertainty. Everything brands hated. Clara was watching Tessa with an expression I recognized. It was the same look food critics got when they bit into something that claimed to be haute cuisine, but was actually just expensive garbage. Disappointment and professional assessment. The pilot is obviously on hold, Clara said quietly to Rachel. We'll need to completely reassess. No! Tessa stood up, her chair scraping loudly. You can't just believe him. He's documented everything, Clara said. And right now, we're all witnessing exactly what he described. You're attacking him for telling the truth instead of addressing any of his actual concerns. Graham tried to salvage it. Look, there have been some miscommunications. Family dynamics are complicated, but the core of what we've built is real. Tessa's talent is real, I agreed, but it's hers, not mine, and that's the point. She could have built something genuine. Instead, she wanted a shortcut. She wanted my reputation without my participation, and when I resisted, she wanted me erased. I turned back to the camera. Starting next week, I'll be running a series on this blog called When Family Becomes Brand. It's about what I've learned about authenticity, legacy, and the difference between honoring your roots and exploiting them. I won't name names in the series itself, but the story will be clear enough for people who know how to read it. The livestream chat was moving too fast to read now. Over 800 viewers. Shares were happening in real time. Food journalists were already writing articles based on what they were watching. This wasn't just family drama anymore. This was a case study in how influencer culture could corrupt even family relationships. Tessa was crying now, but they weren't sad tears. They were rage and panic. Her whole brand, everything she'd built, was collapsing in real time. You wanted this, she said, her voice breaking. You wanted to punish me for being successful, for not needing you anymore. I wanted you to be honest, I said. But you're right about one thing. You don't need me. So stop using my name. Stop claiming my stories. Build something that's actually yours. Miles finally spoke up. Tessa. His voice was quiet. He's right. She spun on him. Don't you start. You're just as bad as he is. You never believed in what we were building. I didn't realize what we were building was stolen, Miles said. He looked at me. I'm sorry, Dad. I should have said something earlier. You're saying something now, I said. That's what matters. Graham stood. Come on, Tessa. We're leaving. This is pointless. No. She turned to face me, and for a moment I saw past the influencer, past the brand, to the angry, hurt woman underneath. You always cared more about your work than us, about your reputation, your standards, your perfect kitchen, and now you're doing it again. You're choosing your pride over your own daughter? I'm choosing truth over theft, I said. There's a difference. The table had gone silent. Even the live stream chat seemed to pause, everyone waiting for what came next. You want to know what the real betrayal was? I said, looking directly at Tessa. It wasn't that you built a brand without me. It wasn't even that you used my past to launch yourself. It was that when I asked to be treated with respect, when I asked to maintain ownership of my own story, you called me unstable. You tried to paint me as a liability. You weren't just using me. You were preemptively destroying me in case I ever stood up for myself. That's not, she started. I have the emails, I said. Graham sent them to 3 different producers, including Clara. Just FYI, Lionel's been difficult lately. Age might be catching up with him. Wanted to give you a heads up in case he reaches out. You weren't protecting your brand. You were sabotaging mine. Graham didn't deny it. He just stood there, calculating whether there was any way to spin this. There wasn't. The thing about cooking, I said, turning back to the camera, is that you can't fake the fundamentals. You can plate beautifully, light perfectly, stage expertly, but if the food itself isn't good, people will know. Eventually, they always know. I looked around the table. The same is true for people. You can perform authenticity. You can curate a brand, but when the pressure gets high enough, the truth comes through. Tessa was staring at the laptop screen, watching the viewer count climb past 900, watching her carefully constructed image dissolve in real time. The comments weren't cruel, mostly, but they were clear. People felt betrayed. The authenticity they'd believed in was revealed as a performance. I want you to understand something, I said to her directly. This isn't revenge. Revenge would be calling the lawyers, pushing for prosecution on the forgeries, using every connection I have to make sure you never work in this industry again. I'm not doing that. I'm just taking back what's mine. You're ruining me, she whispered. No, I'm revealing you. There's a difference. What happens next is up to you. You can acknowledge what you did, rebuild with honesty, maybe salvage something real, or you can keep performing, keep blaming me, and watch it all collapse anyway. David and Tess were standing now, making quiet excuses, heading for the door. Clara and Rachel followed. Professional, polite, but clearly done with whatever partnership they'd been considering. Clara paused at the door. Lionel, I'm sorry this happened. For what it's worth, your reputation in this industry is still solid. People remember Mercer's. They remember your integrity. This, she gestured at the live stream, only reinforces that. After they left, it was just family. Me, Marta, Miles, Tessa, and Graham in my small apartment, with the breakfast mostly uneaten and the truth fully visible. You've thought about this for a while, Graham said. It wasn't a question. Since the night Tessa told me my role was to cook and stay quiet, I said. That's when I realized you'd stopped seeing me as a person. I became a resource to exploit and a liability to manage. So you planned all this, Tessa said bitterly. The blog posts, the videos, the breakfast ambush. I planned to tell the truth effectively, I said. I learned a long time ago that timing matters. In cooking, in business, in life. You serve things when they're ready, when the temperature's right, when people can actually taste what you're giving them. This is insane, Graham said. You've burned every bridge. You think you've won, but you've just destroyed your relationship with your own children. I haven't destroyed anything, I said. I've just stopped participating in a lie. Whether we rebuild something honest is up to Tessa and Miles. Miles set his camera down. I'm done, he said quietly. Done filming, done editing, done pretending any of this was okay. Tessa, I love you, but Dad's right. We took too much. Don't you dare, she said, voice sharp. Don't you dare take his side after everything. There aren't sides, Miles said. There's just what happened, and what happened was wrong. Tessa looked at all of us, me, Marta, Miles, looking for some ally, some support, finding none. Fine, she said. Fine. You want your precious name back? Keep it. Keep your small blog and your master classes and your humble apartment. I don't need you. I never needed you. Then we're agreed, I said. She grabbed her bag. Graham followed her to the door, but she turned back one more time. You know what the worst part is? She said. I actually believed you loved me. But you loved your reputation more. I love you enough to tell you the truth, I said, even when it costs me. She slammed the door. The apartment felt very quiet after they left. The live stream was still running, over 1,000 viewers now. You should probably wrap this up, Marta said, nodding at the laptop. I looked into the camera one more time. This isn't a story about how families fail. It's about what happens when we let brand and image replace genuine connection. To everyone watching who's struggled with feeling used, you're not alone, and you're not wrong to stand up for yourself, even when it's painful. I reached for the laptop. This blog will continue. I'll keep writing about food, about cooking, about the stories behind what we eat. But I'll also write about this, about how to maintain dignity when people want to commodify you. The chat was full of supportive messages. Chefs sharing their own stories, home cooks thanking me for being honest, critics and journalists saying they wanted to interview me. Thank you for watching, I said. Stay honest, keep cooking. I closed the laptop. The click felt final, definitive, like the sound of a knife on a cutting board after the last ingredient is prepped. Miles grabbed his camera bag. Can I call you later? Maybe we could get coffee? I'd like that, I said. After he left, Marta started clearing the table. I helped, falling into the familiar rhythm of cleanup. How do you feel? She asked. Lighter, I said. My phone buzzed. Email from Jennifer Alvarez, the food critic. Watch the whole live stream. Would you be interested in doing a long-form interview? Another email from the Institute of Culinary Arts. We'd like to invite you to teach a semester course on professional ethics in the culinary industry. Another from a literary agent. If you ever considered writing a memoir, I'd love to talk. I set the phone down. What now? Marta asked. Now I keep cooking, I said. Keep writing. Keep building something that's actually mine. She took my hand across the table. I'm proud of you. The live stream had been archived automatically. By evening, it was trending in culinary circles. Food websites were publishing articles. My blog crashed from traffic. Marta got it back up within an hour. I wrote a follow-up post, not about Tessa specifically, but about the broader issue. How the food industry had always walked a fine line between mentorship and exploitation. The next morning, I posted a final statement on Carver's table. Yesterday, I shared a difficult story about family, exploitation, and standing up for yourself. Thank you to everyone who reached out. I want to be clear, this was never about revenge. It was about reclaiming what was mine. My name, my work, my story. Moving forward, this blog will continue as it always has. Honest reflections on food, cooking, and the people behind both. To everyone struggling with similar situations, you're not wrong to draw boundaries. You're not selfish to protect what you've built. And you're not alone. At 9, my phone rang. Patricia, from the masterclass. Mr. Carver, I just wanted to say thank you for standing up. I've been dealing with something similar with my former boss. Watching you made me realize I don't have to accept it. No, I said. You don't. I'm filing a formal complaint and withdrawing my work from his restaurant. After we hung up, I realized this was the real victory. Not that I'd beaten Tessa and Graham, but that maybe I'd helped someone else stand up for themselves too. Marta came out of the bedroom. What are you smiling about? Just thinking, I said. About what we built. A kitchen that's actually ours. A story that belongs to us. She kissed my forehead. So what's for breakfast? I looked at the fresh bread cooling on the counter, the eggs in the bowl, the morning light streaming through the windows. Whatever we want, I said. That's the best part. I started cooking. Not for cameras, not for performance, not to prove anything. Just to feed the woman I loved in the kitchen I'd fought to keep. The bread was perfect. The eggs were perfect. The coffee was perfect. And for the first time in months, so was I.